Oh, we need to talk about the Sabrina Carpenter Tiny Desk concert because I'm seeing a lot of people on here talking about how she sounds terrible or like how her voice doesn't sound the same or like how she's doing a country accent or all these things. But I want to put my 2 cents in as a professional vocalist and a voice teacher who kind of understands how like songs work and singing live works and let you have like a little bit of insight. So something about Sabrina Carpenter's newest album is that the songs might not seem like they're really tricky to sing because they're not like super belty or like having a million runs or all of these things. But something that's tricky about the way that she wrote these songs vocally is that they're changing a lot dynamic wise. They're changing a lot texture wise, color wise. We're changing vocal functions very quickly. And a lot of things she's doing are very stylistic to make it sound cool. So for example, Espresso, you don't think that's going to be a really tricky song to sing unless you're a trained professional vocalist, and then you know how tricky it actually is to sing, especially sing live and especially sing in a low acoustic setting. So when you're singing it live with a full band on a stage and you've got in-ears, that can be a little bit different because you've got all this music to kind of give you, you're able to sing a little bit louder. There's certain things you can do with your voice to make it easier. But when you're singing with a really quiet acoustic set like Tiny Desk, it's really tricky actually to sing something like Espresso. She sings it with a lot of air, right? It's got that airy quality. I'm working late 'cause I'm a singer. It's pretty tricky to do that low in your voice for somebody like Sabrina Carpenter, whose voice is very soprano, very mezzo soprano, very high. It has a lot of that like high, bright, twangy sound to it. It's really tricky to sing something like Espresso, very quiet, but with that much air. It would be a lot easier to sing like, I'm working late 'cause I'm a singer, a lot fuller, not as much air kind of thing. It's just a lot easier on the voice and a lot easier in a like acoustic setting. So there's a lot of examples I heard of her singing at Tiny Desk where it was like maybe not the strongest vocals, but honestly, it's because some of these songs that she wrote, actually the majority of the songs on this album, are very tricky to sing, and they don't sound like they would be because they're, like I said, they're not super belty. They're not like these big vocal songs, but she's doing a lot of vocal gymnastics in these songs, which is what makes them sound so interesting and makes them sound so cool on the recorded track. And when she's singing it live in like a full band setting and it's really loud, it's a lot easier for her to kind of belt some of these things out. She changes a lot of things live in her concert to make it belted so that it sounds really impressive vocals, but it's not necessarily as difficult as what she's doing in the recorded studio versions. Sabrina Carpenter is a great vocalist, and her songs are honestly just tricky to sing. They're really tricky. And even like for me, Espresso was one of the harder songs that I sing on my set list. Going up against like Whitney, Beyonce, a lot of other songs that I sing, Espresso is tricky because you have to find a very specific tone for it. It's very airy and it's very low, and so it's just not necessarily something that your voice likes to do naturally. So keep that in mind when you're listening to her songs. They might not sound like they're very difficult to sing, but a lot of them are really tricky, and she's a very smart vocalist with what she does with them. And you can see she kind of changes some of the melodies and does certain things to make it sound better and different from maybe the studio recorded version. So even like her background singers, I know people were saying they were singing incredible, and that's because they were able to really sing because they were singing the background vocals, which were totally different than the main vocals of Espresso. Vocals of Espresso are like very difficult to sing. They're very weirdly structured in the voice, very weirdly placed in the voice, but the backgrounds are just like very like easy held out notes that are meant to be sung, if that makes sense. I don't know, what do you think?